In contract law, when a person receives an offer, but then they make a counteroffer, this rejects and therefore extinguishes the initial offer. However, if a person receives an offer and they merely request more information, the original offer remains alive and able to be accepted. In this case, trustees for the elderly Mrs. Daley were selling land to Powierza. An agent, Lee, was acting for both parties. The purchasers offered a sale price of $405,000 with a deposit of $20,000. The sellers counteroffered, demanding a deposit of $40,000. The buyer then requested that Lee, the agent, ask the seller whether they would accept 2 installments of the deposit, $20,000 each. The seller hedged and said that he would respond the next day. Meanwhile, the buyer decided to accept the previous offer, price of $405,000 and deposit of $40,000. When the agent contacted the seller to tell him the good news, he learned that the seller had received a higher offer from a third party and had sold the property. Can you see the issue? When the buyer asked the agent to inquire about paying the deposit by installments, this could be seen either as a counteroffer for a contract with 2 $20,000 deposits, or it could be seen as a mere request for information. If it was a counteroffer, the vendor's offer was extinguished and could not be accepted. If it was a request for information, the offer remained alive, and so the buyer's acceptance was valid prior to the contract with the third party. The court found that the communication about the deposit was a request for information, not a counteroffer. Justice Cook said, "The line between rejecting an offer and merely inquiring as to a possible variation can be a fine one, but the basic test is the effect on a reasonable person in the shoes of the offeror." The trial judge found that the offeror would not consider that their offer in this case had been rejected, and the appeal court upheld this. As a result, Powierza's acceptance was valid and the sellers had no right to sell the property again to someone else. From this case, we learn that if there is doubt whether a communication is a counteroffer or a request for information, the test is what would be the view of a reasonable person in the position of the offeror.